Hi, I'm Rebecca. Welcome to my sewing room. This is So Be It. I'm finally ready to go ahead and start working on the project. So I have everything cut out, including the interfacing. So the first step is to iron all of the interfacing onto all of the pieces. There's actually a lot of interfacing on this. So obviously there's interfacing on the front band and on the waistband for the structure, but there is interfacing on all of the bodice pieces, which I was pretty surprised to see. So I have quite a bit of ironing to do, and then I have to stay stitch everything. So all of the curved pieces on the front, or the curved parts on the front and the back and the neckline will all be stay stitched, and then I can start putting the dress together. And it's going to go together as every princess seam dress goes together. And since it's not my pattern, I can't really show you step by step. I have shown how to sew princess seams. This is going to be the same as a 1950s dress that I made with princess seams. We will definitely have to clip the curves on the side bust pieces and the side front and back bodice pieces. You'll have to clip that curve to stretch it along, and that'll be even a little bit more difficult because of the interfacing on these pieces. So be careful if you're doing this. And if I have anything else, I will be back. I'm going to show you some of the little details about this dress as I go through, but I am going to get the basic dress done, and I'll be back. This week we are actually putting together Vogue V2044, a continuation of my video from last week. I have everything cut out, so it is time to start sewing. I will be starting with the princess seam bodice for the lining and the regular fabric. So once I get that done, I will be back to show you the next step. Okay, I have the front and the back all sewed up. I do also have the front and back of the lining sewed together and pressed as well. That is all so far. We don't attach them yet. I will be setting the back to the side, and I'm setting the lining to the side. And we are working with just the front right now because we have to put our front band on. This marks where the bow, where it comes together to attach the bow. This marks where I stop stitching along the center line because it is only sewn together above the bust to make that little keyhole. This also will follow the line of the curve on the front of the bodice. It's not a huge curve, but it is a little bit of a curve to make the keyhole, and you'll have to snip where it's needed to stretch out on the pattern piece in that area. So I will go ahead and get these stitched together, get the front band stitched on, and then get the front and the back stitched together at the shoulder and side seams. And once that's done, I'll be back. I have the bodice pieces all sewn together, and I have the lining pieces sewn together. It's two pieces still, because now I have to attach them to the bodice, and I have to attach them underneath the facing of the front band, and that way. I haven't read all the way through the directions, but I do know I have to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach the bodice, attach the lining of the bodice to the bodice itself. And then I will be sewing together the skirt pieces. I have never done pockets the way that they have me do it, because 2 pieces are the lining and 2 pieces are the fabric, instead of it all being lining or all being fabric. So I'll let you know how I'm supposed to do that once I get there. And so you will probably see me at attaching, well, I'll come back and show you the bodice before I move on to the skirt. So, okay, the bodice is ready. The lining is stitched in. I do have a couple pins up in the neckline because the armholes are basted 1 inch on each of these sides, and then the bottom about 3 inches in the center are all basted, but nothing else is basted together. So for now, that's how the bodice will be. Okay, so next up, I will be stitching the skirt and the skirt fabric and the skirt lining, fronts together and backs together. Then I will have, then it'll be time to put the pockets in. So I'll be back to show you how to do that with 1 lining and 1 fabric for a pocket. All right, I am to the attaching pockets to my skirt. So these go on the fabric pieces. The lining pocket pieces go on the front of the skirt, and the fabric pocket pieces go on the back of the skirt, on the fabric part of the skirt, the outside layer of the skirt. And they will go on just as we always insert pockets. I will stitch them onto the side seam, press them out, and then when I stitch the side... Dolce probably got him in the face or something.
Yeah, I accidentally tossed it down. This is...
You're okay.
Back pop.
Did you scare him and he got your face? Come here. Okay, so I will sew the pocket onto the side seam, and then I will sew around the pockets when I sew the front and back of the skirt together, which will be after I insert the pockets. So it'll be the next step. So according to this, after I stitch the skirt together, I then attach that to the bodice, and then attach the lining after I insert the zipper. So I've never done it like this before, so we'll see how that goes. I'll be back. Okay, so I have the dress completely together. Well, not completely, but the skirt and the bodice sewn together. That's it so far. The back is not sewn. The lining is still loose inside. But before I go ahead and insert the zipper and sew up the back and add the sleeves, do the neckline, all of that. The neckline is actually next, before the zipper. I want to mention the waistband. So the waistband was attached to the outside of the skirt, right sides together. The right side, well, the waistband on the outside of the dress is what it ended up being, because you fold it in half. But the directions were pretty confusing. So let me go ahead and read it to you. Okay, so it says on the outside to pin the waistband to the upper edge of the skirt, matching centers, large dots, and all of that good stuff, and then baste it on the outside of the skirt, which I did, no problem. That's pretty easy. And then lift up the free edge of the lining beyond the clips with right sides together over waistband, pin bodice to skirt, matching notches, centers, all of the good stuff. So that over the waistband part, I was really confused about. I think I have done it correctly, but I read all the way through these directions. I searched on YouTube. There are no answers on how to, what specifically to do with this waistband. It was basically sandwiched between the right side of the skirt and the right side of the bodice, as I attached those. And then, according to the pictures, you have to trim it, and then you have to press the seam allowance up towards the bodice. And when you do that, the waistband just wants to fold down over the skirt, which I can't find any directions that say otherwise. So the waistband is attached at the top and just folded down and pressed down over the skirt. It will be held down in place, facing down with the third bow that is on the dress because it is attached to the waistband. So that will help it stay down where it's supposed to be. So I just wanted to make that note because that really confused me, and I made a choice, and I think I did it the way the directions want you to, but I'm not positive. The next step is to prepare the neck binding and insert the zipper. So I will go ahead and do those 2 steps. This will be finished with a stitch in the ditch. So I've actually never done a neckband like this. This will be kind of interesting. I'll be back. I am to the sleeves. As you can see, everything else on the dress is complete other than the sleeves and the 3 bows that I have to make down the front. This dress has 3 invisible zippers. 1 dress zipper down the back, which is 22 inches long, and then it's like a 7-inch zipper on each sleeve, which is why I didn't do the sleeves yesterday when I finished sewing down you have to hand sew down the inside of the lining once everything's together. But I hate zippers. They're easy, but they're really, really intimidating. So I hate to do it because that anxiety just weighs on me. And I mess stuff up a lot. If it's just a regular zipper, I don't have a problem, but invisible zippers have always intimidated me. So, because of that, I followed the instructions from the dress instructions, from the pattern instructions, exactly for the back zipper. So I will be doing the same for the zipper on the sleeves because this insertion was so much easier than any other invisible zipper that I've inserted. One side is a little bit like you can just barely see the zipper tape, but I'm not worried about that. And it's less visible, not really, but less noticeable on the sleeve, so it's a little bit less anxiety. So just know these are really good and clear directions for inserting the zipper for this dress, so go ahead and follow that just like I did, and you shouldn't have any issues. Make sure you do have a zipper, an invisible zipper foot for your machine though, because that seems to make it so much easier. And if you have to, watch a YouTube video on how to use that and exactly which way to do it, because first time I did it a while back, I didn't do it right, and I thought, this is stupid, this is really hard. But if you know how to do it and you do it right, then it's a lot easier. So that's what I did. The next thing I have to do is the sleeves. So I'm just going to follow step by step the directions of how to do that. So if you make this pattern, just do the same thing. And then I have to make the bows. I'm not sure that I will show you how to do that, but that's the last step in making this dress other than the hem of the skirt. So I might be back for the final product. I might be back to show you how to do all of that because I might just get really excited. When you sew the neckline down, which you do after you insert the zipper, you have to sew in, like stitch in the ditch. And so you want to make sure that your entire neckband is all the way down over that seam because you're stitching on the outside of the dress. There were a couple spots that I missed because at the end it had to have just slipped out because I had it all pinned correctly. So I think there's just a couple spots I missed. I went in and just whip stitched that with an invisible stitch, and since it's on the inside, it doesn't matter if it's not completely invisible anyways. And so that's all nice and secure. It's something that you can do so you don't have to possibly screw up the outside to try and get it all completely stitched the way it's supposed to. I used the same whip stitch to stitch down the inside of the lining. Once the zipper's in, you want to fold the lining and then whip stitch that so that it's all nice and enclosed. And it says to do a loose whip stitch around the waist of the lining to the skirt, I assume, so that it all stays down where it's supposed to. I wasn't sure what a loose whip stitch is. I made sure not to stitch it tight. So that's all I can say about that, but that was a pretty quick process too. All of this, other than these small minute steps, for the most part hasn't taken too long. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the sleeves, possibly make the bows, and be back with the final product, or I'll be back to show you the bows. It's so bright with all that snow out there. Quick update, as you can see, I have not taken the dress down because I've been working on the sleeves, and so far I have the ease stitching in and the dart done on all of the sleeves, including the lining. I tried to insert one of the zippers and I did it completely wrong. Both sides of the zipper, I have it on there backwards, or it's not upside down. I had it closed at the right end, but I don't need the zipper because I don't need the end of that sleeve opening. It's already going to be wide enough, especially since I added that extra inch to the sleeve. So I am going to go ahead and sew the sleeve as I normally would, and then follow the directions for the lining with everything except for the zipper as well. So now that I have the darts and the easing stitch done, I can just do the underarm seam, sew the sleeves on, and then according to this, I have to slip the lining in and slip stitch the top of the sleeve, of the lining sleeve, to that shoulder seam or the sleeve seam. And then I will hem the lining and the sleeve together with a rolled hem. I didn't write down the size of the hem. I think it's 1.5 inches. That definitely is for the bottom. It might just be 1 inch. I can't quite. Hemming the sleeve is 1 inch. So I will do that, and then it'll be time for the bows. So I'll be back. As you can see in my final video, I did not add the bows to the dress. That's because I wanted to wear this to church this past Sunday, and I was short on time for the bows because I did too much procrastinating with the zippers. But I found that I really like it without the bows. I do still have the bows. folded up in the pattern envelope, still attached to the pattern piece. So if I decide in the future that I actually really want to add the bows to this, I will. But because the plaid is already quite busy, and with the bias, so the diagonal plaid on all of the finishing touches, it might be too busy with the bows. So for now, I have left them. But I love this dress. It took a long time to make. I don't love the idea of having the zippers in the sleeves because that was so confusing. And I realized that even if I didn't have to add the extra inch to the sleeves, which has turned out perfect, maybe they're a little bit bigger than they're supposed to be, but I can move and I don't tear my dress or break any stitches. So that's really nice. But I probably wouldn't have had to have the zippers in them anyways. I do have quite small hands, so it wouldn't be too tight. Other than the intimidation factor and my procrastinating, this dress actually wasn't too hard. I think the intermediate factor is doing all of the extra pressing on the finishing touches and having the lining on there. And of course, as we saw, the directions were not completely clear with the waistband. But otherwise, this dress is not too bad. When I pinned the lining to the inside of the skirt, I did not have the dress hanging up. I actually did it on my lap, and I pulled the fabric tight. Obviously, I didn't pull it tight enough because it is picked up a little bit on the outside of the skirt, but not too much that you can tell. I'll probably fix that. I just haven't yet. So make sure if you are doing this, have your dress on a hanger or on a mannequin so that all of the weight is pulled onto the dress and the lining, and you see, and you can make it even. I think that might be all I have for this week. Overall, I love the dress. It wasn't too hard. It fits great. It's really comfortable. With the heavier jersey fabric and the lining, well, the heavier jersey has stood up really well with the shape. It hasn't stretched at all. We will thank the interfacing for some of that. The weight of this dress is really good. It's warm, so I wasn't too cold when I wore it, and it was -2 degrees. On our way to church. I think it was like 18 degrees on our way home, so that was warm, but it wasn't too bad. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching all the way through. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, hit the like button for me. If you want to make sure you see all of my videos, hit that subscribe button so I show up in your subscribe channel or subscribe page. And if you want to get notified every single time I post, hit the notification bell, and YouTube will notify you every single time I post. I'd love to hear any feedback, any of your opinions. Just let me know. And yeah, my clock is still off. Thank you for watching Rebecca's Sewing Room. This was So Be It.